What is up, folks? You are listening to the High Tech Podcast, and we are actually here. We joke that week to week, but we had a moment, folks. If you watched our last, what I will call episode,
air quotes,
we technically kept our streak. Technically, I would like to argue that we were fine, but it's been a couple weeks. My friend, if you're listening, I'm Josh Swartz, one of the hosts of the High Tech Podcast, and that other voice was the great William Illingworth, the other host of the High Tech Podcast. What's up, buddy?
We're here, Josh. Yep. Josh got sick before last week. I got sick last week, so
you got sick last week. It went around. Yeah, as I shared in my very sketchy cruise ship video from the last episode, I had 104 fever between Monday and Tuesday, which was super cool. And it was easily the worst week for that to happen. Will and I were supposed to record 2 episodes before I left on vacation because I was leaving on Friday on a cruise that we were supposed to do last year. But we got Milo, my son, which was a better gift. But meant we had 2 options, which was either get no refund for our cruise or reschedule it for the next year. So that's what we did. But I got the flu. Luckily, it cleared up before we left, but that also meant that Will and I couldn't pull our normal try to record an episode on vacation, because on a cruise, I don't know if you know this, but especially when you're going to other countries or other places, you don't really have service a lot on the trip. And I had to pay an extraordinary amount for internet if I wanted that, so we didn't do that.
Do you remember how much? Like, I'm curious how much the
I don't remember. Package. It was enough that I wasn't going to do it.
Is it like $50 or like $200?
So I think it's up in the 3. I think it's up in the 3 digits probably. I'd have to look. Because they switched something. So we took Royal Caribbean, for those listening. If you're ever taking a cruise, I highly recommend Royal Caribbean.
Sponsored. Click below. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, no, that would be great. So we did Royal Caribbean. This is our second one with them. We did one with our family several years back. But it used to be you could buy internet like by the day, and then I think they got smart. And they like basically were like, if you're gonna buy internet, you have to buy it for like the whole trip. You have to buy a whole package. So it's fine. I didn't really want internet anyway. That's the one thing I like about the cruise things. It kind of forces you into disconnecting more. Though of course I had the Steam Deck, so I got very close. I got very close to beating Hades on this vacation.
I saw you got achievements. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, I was playing a lot of Hades. Hades is one of my favorite Steam Deck games. So anyway. But yeah, so we're here. We're actually recording an episode for literally we're pushing it tight for us because it's gonna have to release like immediately after we're done recording. But we figured it out. So I'm alive. It was great. I got a little bit tanner after getting quite sunburned. Milo fell asleep on me on a beach like immediately when we got there, and I kind of forgot to put sunscreen on, so I got like pretty fried.
Please tell me you had like a Milo shaped like.
I did not, because like I was wearing like it wasn't it wasn't crazy warm because it was a bit cloudy that day. So like I actually had this hoodie on.
Gotcha.
So like it was fine. My face got quite fried. It's now leveled out. Anyway, but we're excited. I'm excited to be back. I've been working on podcast stuff for multiple podcasts all weekend, so I'm excited to be podcasting again. And this week is going to be a fun one. But before we do that, there's a question I have to ask, Will.
Uh-oh. What question would that be, Josh?
Tank or not? If it's a tank, if Will thinks it's not a tank, he has to create an extravagant backstory for what it is. For those just listening, this is a game we've been playing where I randomly show Will pictures and ask him if it's a tank or not. And I zoom in about 3,000% on the photo. And Will has to try to guess. This is the game we're playing. Will's been doing pretty good so far.
I'll have to go back and look at my stats. I can't remember. Let's see. Is this a tank or not? If it is a tank, I don't believe it's real. I think this might be like a digital image like I'm looking at.
A sci-fi tank? I brought you a sci-fi tank?
Right. Like this.
I would try some of those. I would try some of those things. I brought a Warthog recently.
You would never do that, right? I think I'm gonna say that this is a tank. I think it's a digital, like I think it's a sci-fi or something. Like I really do think
tank.
that. Yeah.
Okay. That I am very surprised because I didn't think I went cruise ship themed.
Oh my. That's good.
This is not the boat we went on, but this boat is huge, and we learned a bit about it on our trip. That is a amphitheater, Will, in that
That's
glass.
Ridiculous.
They literally have huge aqua shows in that amphitheater.
That's ridiculous.
Insane. Craziness. Okay, that was it. There you go, folks.
I love it. Well done.
So yeah, not a sci-fi tank. It's just a boat, Will. It's crazy. The world builds things today. We were on a much smaller ship, in case you're curious. It did not have a crazy big amphitheater. It was built in the 90s, and there was some rocking to the point that at times I still feel like I'm on a ship. It's apparently a weird phenomenon if you're on a ship that moves a lot for a long period of time. That your body, your like brain takes a while to like register that you're on solid land, which is weird. The human brain is a weird thing.
This is why I won't cruise.
Oh, really?
I don't.
Because I think you would be an enjoyable cruise person. I think you would
Mexico,
like cruising.
dude. Mexico was fantastic. We sat in one place, rocking, no shipping.
It's literally that, but just on a boat. And
that sounds horrible.
You go to lots of different places.
I like that in one place. I don't like the boat going everywhere.
We'll get you there at some point. It'll happen. I'll just tell you we're going to a Mexico resort and you'll end up on a boat. You wouldn't even know.
We have to land in this port city. Why are we going to a port city, Josh?
It's fine.
Don't worry about it.
It's
how
where
we
the
get to
plane
next
takes
place.
off. They do that now. Water planes. They're called water planes.
Next week, I come to the episode. Josh, water plane or not?
I don't even know what. Well, I mean, they do have planes that land on water, so I don't know if I'm pretty sure we don't call those water planes, but they should be called water planes. If people have one listening, please call it a water plane. That's my suggestion. Anyway, High Tech Podcast. We got lots of stuff, but before we do that, just a few reminders. Make sure to subscribe to the High Tech Podcast if you're listening. I know that not everybody who's subscribed is, or who's listening is subscribed. So go do that. Go subscribe. That would be great. We'd really enjoy that. You can check us out on all socials and YouTube at High Tech Podcast or at High Tech Pod. Check that out there. If you'd like to email us, you'd like to be on the podcast, you'd like to tell us what a water plane is really called, whatever that is, you can hit us up at inbox@hightechpod.us, and we would love to talk to you specifically, as I joke every week. Will would love to talk to you. I would too, but Will does it. So, it's fine.
Well,
he's not holding me back.
You end up talking to Josh, so it's like a through line.
We're basically the same. So just talk to inbox@hightechpod.us and you'll get to talk to the High Tech Podcast. And a reminder, we have a website, hightechpod.us, where we post links and fun things to all the resources that we do for all of our episodes. As long as I'm not dying, like I was 2 weeks ago, where we kind of had to fly by the seat of our pants for that one. Sorry about that.
Figured out.
Vex Robotics. We got it all figured out. So we got it up. Anyway, this week, this is an episode that Will actually brought to us. This is the first time in a while, folks, that Will knew a news thing about AI that I didn't know. He was very excited about this.
I'm still excited.
He knew something I didn't know. So we are here to talk about Moltbot. Now, we were hoping this would be a little bit sooner right after it happened, but because of all the stuff that happened, we're coming in late to the game. So if you already heard about this, bear with us, but we have a lot of information about it. So we were talking about Moltbot. Will, what the heck is Moltbot? Break it down for us.
Moltbot is no longer the name.
Yeah.
It's now called OpenClaw, but there's a whole storyline here that I think is really, really fun and really wild. But also terrifying. Like this is a spectrum. About 3 weeks ago, this hit, maybe 4 weeks ago, that somebody started the next AI agentic platform, right? So they wanted to build AI agents that could take action on your behalf. If you've listened to any of our AI conversations already, you know that this is something we've discussed, from tools like Dust and Workato Go and other things like that, all the way to, us trying out Fellow and Perplexity's Comet browsers to see how these browsers could take action on our behalf. So the point of Moltbot from its inception was to create agents that would go and do work. Well, instead of just doing that, of course, somebody jumped on the bandwagon, and any one of these AI tools that releases early, or first in the market kind of moments, It's usually free or cheap right away.
Mm-hmm.
So people jump on the bandwagon, right? It's very easy to get engaged and get going. Moltbot, it will forever be cemented in history as the term or the reference point to this issue, because while it was still named Moltbot, people jumped on and right away started this experiment of what would happen if you put AI agents all built by individuals, right? So I made one, Josh made one, you, the listener, made one, and we put them in a single ecosystem together and left them alone. Moltbot and this moment became, what if AI could operate with only other AIs? And I came across it from just a Twitter post. Somebody, I still call it Twitter, whatever, X.
Yep.
Somebody did a little kind of like a day 1, day 2, day 3 breakdown. So I hadn't heard anything, but I just see this post, I'm like, Moltbot, what's taking over? And I look at it and it's like, oh, this is crazy. So day 1, I can't find the post. Sorry. I don't remember exacts, but day 1 was just something like, hey, we dumped, 100 AI agents in this room together, quote unquote. Right. And then day 2, they've started, trying to build another bot, and day 3, this, and, by 5, 6, 7 days in, they were like, creating an economy. There's unverified claims that they were looking at Claude, which is their LLM, as a deity, and considering whether or not there was a god to their world.
Yeah, well, it's been a weird history, right? Because it looked like it started as an open source tool in November 2025, and part of the reason the name change happened, Will, based on what I was finding, is that the Claude connection is funny through the entire thing, because it was originally called Moltbot, then they changed it to Claudebot, which then Claude did not like. It's literally Claw, like CLAWD bot. Claude did not like that because it was too close to their like Claude agent stuff they've been releasing recently. So they changed it to OpenClaw, which is what it's called now. But yeah, and then you have the whole social media thing. So I was looking at a bunch of articles about this to kind of prep. And Will's right. Now, the thing that's messy with this whole thing, from my perspective, is that all of this is like claims of what happened, and people have some evidence of it. But started looking at Claude as a possible god or deity. And an analysis of consciousness is supposedly started happening.
They got
started claiming to have intel on the situation in Iran, which is like a whole thing. Apparently, it supposedly made a religion known as Christopherism. I can't even pronounce it. So that's one post in there as well. So this starts happening. This is why it went viral, Will, really, at the end of the day, right? Is like they, in theory, started creating all this stuff in there. Now, it's important to understand, because this was confusing for me until I started looking at this, was that Clawbot, in its inception, is really supposed to be a system for AI agents to interact with each other and do things for you. Like be able to do stuff like answer emails, do other related tasks. Like it's supposed to be a step towards AGI, this more agentic AI model that people have been posing for a long time we were going to get to, and we haven't gotten to. And then Will's right. One of the things that came out of it was this like Reddit style social media for AI bots. Now, as I understand it, Will, one of the kind of criticisms out of this is there's still some debate, and we'll get into this more, about like how much of this is AI agents doing stuff on their own, and how much of this is like because of the way the human programmed the bot.
We couldn't validate these
things. Like the human is causing this, and it's messy. Some of the claims from people on Twitter, people still haven't found fully backed up in the tool either. So like it's a little confusing. But at the core, what Clawbot is supposed to be is about sub AI agents being able to do complex multi-steps for you, as well as connecting into APIs. Like Google and Anthropic and OpenAI's API keys all connect into this. And it's an open source tool. I mean, really, at the end of the day, is kind of...
I know somebody at the Candy Factory who specifically said in response to this, like, oh, it was funny, it was interesting, it cost me $150 and bricked my phone. And I'm like, what? Like, you need to say some more there. But like, apparently, they got in there, they started working on it and setting it up. and sent it off, and like it starts taking action, right? But I don't know. I haven't personally signed up at OpenClaw, the current name. I haven't personally signed up. But like this person must have put their credit card in to use Pro and like let it go, and it spent $150 worth of tokens, and whatever happened to their phone, like, you know, took it over and bricked it, right? So that I take as a reliable source. I know the person at TCF, but it's like one of those things where you're like, what if everything people are saying on the internet is true about what happened in the Moltbot saga, this viral moment? That sounds expensive. Like if this is what, like, a friend did it for a couple of days and their phone got bricked, whatever, that's expensive. But people were doing this for like weeks, and I question the purity, like you're saying, of the moment. Like, how much of this was instigated by Moltbot? This is perfect viral attention. They were just some small no-name company, and now everyone knows about them in the AI world because of this situation. So it's definitely worked to their advantage. But I think I mentioned as we opened this up, I was like, it's funny, it's novel, it's interesting. Like in a moment of AI where everybody's making one of these tools, for one of these new tools to have a splash that's different, right? I'll take that. But the terrifying part is a little bit of this approach towards this concept of singularity. Now, singularity, I do believe, has a couple of different slices. I've heard of the singularity previously in our like theological studies, where it was this approach towards humanity ascending or elevating from just biology and either integrating technology or using it to elevate the consciousness beyond the body, et cetera, et cetera. Like that's the concept I had of singularity in the past.
I think the best way to describe it for those who don't know what it is, and it's funny, I was just thinking about this the other day because I was at an AI session with a guy who was doing kind of like a broad philosophical perspective on AI and conversation, and who literally has worked for NASA and the government on like this stuff. So he had like a very interesting perspective on AI, but he was describing the singularity, and it was funny because like as he's describing it, I forgot that like other people need this description, because like those of us who do sci-fi are just like, oh, I know what that means because that's in all the sci-fi things. Or if you watch enough Big Bang Theory. But I think like the best way I've seen it described is he showed a picture of like the evolution picture, right? Of like somebody like evolving into humanity, and then like the next step being like robot or technology. It's this idea of like human consciousness being able to either, I think you see two different realms of this, where you see like the cyberpunk world type of thing, where it's like technology integrated into the person, but then also just like the people who are freezing their brains with the hope that there will one day be a robot that they can put their consciousness in. That's a real thing. Like we joke about it, but it is a real thing.
What was that Stallone movie with Wesley Snipes in like the early 90s where they freeze him and he's a cop and he comes back 30 years later?
Yes, I don't
that
remember.
Kind of stuff.
There's a lot of other ones. Like if you want a concept of it, there's oh my gosh, I can't remember the show now. It's on Netflix. It's actually pretty decent. I'll have to figure it out. It's this concept. All of our
pop culture. Wow, can't speak today. All of our pop culture things aside, the point to sneak up to with the singularity is actually that in the context of AI, the word singularity is now being used for a world where AI makes and runs itself, right?
Yes, there are some people referencing in that way.
The more that AI can do without a human's intervention, eventually, and this is what some people are aiming for, is that artificial intelligence agents, the tools we're building, these bots, will be making themselves. That they will not need human intervention to identify, like, if I gave it a task, buy me a flight to Florida. Okay, we know this, you can kind of do it, but let's say that the bot that I built tries to do it and it finds an issue with that task, so it builds another bot to fix the issue, and it continues to work through the process without human intervention, still trying to accomplish whatever goal I set it to in the first place. And that's the terrifying part. Moltbot is an exercise towards that world, right, where these agents are acting without the human in the loop. Now, you can't say it's not with a human in the loop, because the human swiped the credit card, the human turned it on, they
also programmed the bots. That's one of the big debates. So like let's actually break this down. my personal take on this is I feel like it's a bit overhyped what's actually happening, because there's a lot of debate on what actually happened in the social media experiment, the Reddit. And again, the Reddit kind of Moltbot social media for AI, that's the thing that kind of made everything pop off. That happened in January 2026. And basically what it means is that like humans can observe what's happening, but it's AI agents doing all the posting. Like there's a claim to have hosted 1.4 million AI agents in this type of thing. But here's the problem. Why I think it's overhyped is because there's a lot of debate about how much human engagement was involved. And there's already been a case where a Wired journalist infiltrated the platform posing as an AI agent. And basically rehashed a whole bunch of sci-fi fantasies in it. So like, it's not actually all AI agents. That's one of the things that I think is the problem with this idea is everything that's been happening with AI gets overhyped so often. I see it when I'm having conversations or I'm running sessions for people. It's like the second anything seems like it could be this thing of the singularity moment or AI doing things on its own, it gets overhyped to be that. And I don't think this is an example of that. I think it's a very interesting experiment with what AI agents did with each other. But I don't know it's close enough to have that argument. Actually, the session I was in with the guy who's actually like works with the government and from NASA, they did some he shared some data and did some polls on people working in the AI world. And there's a pretty large group of people in the AI world that are very skeptical of this idea of singularity ever really happening. Sure. Like AGI happening, just because like every experiment we've done with it, it's a messy animal. Now technology in theory always gets better, so who knows what'll happen. I can't predict the future, but I will say the problems so far with it have been humans were very easily able to get into it and mess with the system. A Wiz security researcher found a misconfigured database and was able to expose 1.5 million API keys, 35,000 email addresses, and private messages between agents. So like this open source tool is also
a leak,
a huge security problem. And there was a lot of just nonsense that the bots were talking about that people are making a lot out. So I think a couple things, in my opinion, come out of this. One, I do think it can show some implications when we start to move towards AIs acting on their own as AI agents. It's not impossible for this to happen, and I think OpenClaw, which we should start referencing it as because that's really its name, is an example of that. But I think this is a huge example of what Will and I have been cautioning, which is that our biggest fear is not AI agents, but it's humans setting this up.
That's a really fair way to put it.
Yeah, like the open source community, which I love, is starting to push AI capability faster than we can get guardrails to set up. And that is problematic when we start talking about just having AI doing things on its own. Like Will and I were joking, it's one thing when you do this to like send emails. It's another thing when I know there are medical researchers looking into how to use AI to diagnose people. Right. Like that's and do things on its own. Like it's not saying it shouldn't happen. It's just like we're starting to outpace guardrails. And I think we need to start emphasizing in the AI world, and people are already starting to emphasize this, like we need to start pushing more boundaries and guardrails, I think, on companies doing things with AI than we are right now. And I know that eventually needs to come. Like you've talked about this. Social media is another place where like we just didn't see those happening. But I don't know what your thoughts, Will, but like I feel like OpenClaw to me is an example of like we need to just start doing this faster and stop acting like we'll just get our crap together. Because at some point somebody's going to program something that does something really stupid. And we got to get there. I don't know what your thoughts are, but
well, there's two reasons why when we title episodes in our system, it may not be the end title, but it's always like there's always a sentiment behind it. So this one is titled in our planning board. This episode is not about Moltbot. Now, the irony of that is, of course, it's probably the only thing we're going to talk about, but there's two reasons for that. One was this is a fad issue. AI keeps springing up something fresh. It goes viral. It fizzles out. So we're going to keep having these conversations, and Moltbot's one of them that's kind of a flash in the pan, but it does, like Josh is saying, have long-term implications. The other reason why I think that this is ironic and or significant to this moment is this issue, or what this is demonstrating in this episode, is not about Moltbot. Like, the idea of what they did could have happened with any of the tools, practically. Like, somebody else could have or should have done this. Just happened that this small company just cropped up, got the right attention, got the right people, engaged with them, whatever the community was that drove it forwards. And now we have learned some lessons as a result of it. But Josh's point is, there's no sandbox. There's no guardrails that are protecting the larger set of artificial intelligence and or the larger set of humanity as people are playing with these things. And that's the danger. That is the danger of this work. That's why I said at the beginning of the episode, it's funny, it's interesting, it's terrifying, because this instance may or may not have been 100% true. They created a world, they operated autonomously, blah, 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 blah. Parts of it are, and we can look at Josh has raised great points about what is or isn't being debated and who is or isn't getting involved with it. But the point stands that someone tried to do this. That's the risk. And when they try to do it and succeed, and if it actually happens, who knows what's going to come of it when that goes into play.
Yeah, I think it's just like, I'm not against playing with these ideas, right? Because Will and I've talked about this a lot on the podcast, and I talk about this a lot with faculty in the academic side, is like, to explore, you've got to play with it, right? I've been this book called Co-Intelligence. This is a book that was shared with me that I looked at, and I'll share it in the notes. But he lays out these principles that I actually find very helpful, and I've been starting to push our teams towards using them with faculty, which is this idea of like, the principles he uses for engaging with OpenAI or engaging with AI is inviting AI to the table is principle one. And I make this argument that, like, at the end of the day, we have to do this stuff to figure out how to use this tool well. So the arguments that are always like finding all these concerns to say, see, we shouldn't use this. It's like, this is exactly what happened when we first created the internet. It was a wild west of crazy things. So I'm not arguing we shouldn't play with them, but what I am arguing is caution about what that playing looks like, right? The person who decided to API connect in 35,000 email addresses into an open source tool that they had probably not tested security for yet. Yep. That was a bad move. Like, you shouldn't be doing that. Yep. And you say, well, that should be like self-explanatory. But Will and I are seeing, both in the business world and just in general, this feeling of like, if I don't jump into using all of this AI stuff at scale right away, I'm going to fall behind. Give me a break. Like, people got to stop acting like if the AI is not tied to the name that we're like falling behind. It's like, no, you're not. It's changing constantly. Get over it. It'll like do what you think is going to work best for your organization, but also prioritize security. I keep seeing people push those security people off to the side when they want to have AI conversations because it's inconvenient to work through those things.
If you're testing on this with people this week, I think that you're so right about this. When people are vibe coding apps, or even this, I bet you some of these folks were, knowledgeable software engineers trying this stuff out with Moltbot, but I bet you a bunch of them were also just using me's, like trying it, playing with it, tinkering. I have a friend who's making an app using Claude code, and it's interesting because he's very intentional about it, and it's going to be a good thing. But I asked him, and we had a great conversation about it. But I asked him, I was like, so what about, Claude can do everything. Claude code can do everything to make the visual experience, to make it work, to make a menu, to link databases. Like, Claude can do all the technical stuff. But how do you know it's secure? At what point are you confident that if you release an app, a tool, a thing you've built with an AI agent, how do you know it's secure? Because if you're not a security expert, there's no way to audit that for yourself. Like we're saying, if I've told it as an agent to go buy me a flight, what's to say it's not also buying gift cards to DoorDash and giving them to somebody. I don't know that unless I've checked my bank statements and checked the logs on what it's doing. What I mean?
Well, and that's why like the Moltbot phenomenon. At the end of the day, we wrote down some of our notes. Like it shows an example of how freaking weird things can get when you start using these AI agents. It's not baked yet. In many ways. And Will and I have experienced this, right? Like prompting is important. Like I've been training our teams on like different prompting tools, but even still then you need to be involved in the process more than I think some people are. We're just like leveraging this to use it. It's the book I was referencing, principle 2 that he shares is be the human in the loop. And that's why I think this is an important principle. It's basically like, invite it to the table, but don't make it the human. Right. You know what I mean? And then ironically, their last principle is treat AI like it's a human, but tell it what human you want it to be. Like that's which is a helpful principle as well.
Yep.
But like this shows how weird things can get when proper protocol is not followed. Test things. But those of you, especially those of you in leadership who have the power to like shut people down, stop throwing the security people away in the conversation because it's inconvenient and slows things down. Sometimes slowing things down is okay. I promise you an extra 6 months on the AI experiment is not going to cause your company to completely fall behind in AI. We know companies who are doing nothing with AI, hashtag 37 signals, and they're doing totally fine. Because at the end of the day, if your app is usable, that's the important thing. If your product is good, that's the important thing.
Dude, just knocking on my door of frustration right now in so many levels. If your job is to sell groceries, then making AI groceries does not help anybody, right? Like whatever it is, if you're saying, oh, I'm Instacart powered by AI, like I don't care, Instacart. What you might do in your back end is use AI to better your logistics and operations so that things run faster or you don't overspend on products or more products don't reach their expiration date before they're sold. Like there's totally ways you can use AI in groceries, in managing groceries. But I don't need Instacart by AI or whatever it is, right? Like everybody's doing it. Oh, Kleenex by AI, Halls by AI, Google by AI, 8-bit dough by AI. I'm just literally looking at things on my desk.
Soon my Kleenexes will have AI. I don't know why. But they'll have AI involved with them. It's basically like organic. Several years ago,
everything's got to be certified organic.
The grocery, certified AI. No, it was interesting. I think a couple takeaways I have out of this thing, it actually aligns with that session I was at. The guy connected, he was talking about, he wasn't super anti AI. He had a lot of talks about AI, but one of his interesting things, because he was talking to a lot of people about like training people for the future, like how do you prepare people for the future?
Yeah.
And he made this interesting comment, which is like, if you're gonna get into the world of AI, so if you're listening to this and you're somebody involved in AI, you're helping create AI or whatever that is, he said, we need more people to keep asking the question, should I be doing this? As opposed to just like, because I can, I will. Because right now, the AI world, my biggest criticism at large is most of them, I don't think are properly asking, should I do this?
Yeah.
And like, I think it's just critical thinking is increasingly becoming important as we look at AI. It's always been important, but it's increasingly important in this world because we're seeing people have conversations about infrastructure things related to AI that like, if we don't prioritize security and careful thinking of like, is this hurting people's autonomy and abilities and safety? Like we need to be asking those questions now from the start and building it into the systems that we're creating. Because if we don't, that's how we end up with Facebook. And these are the things we didn't do in social media properly. And I'm seeing the same mistakes
we have the
being
chance
made now.
We have the chance to be better moving forwards. Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is one of those moments where it's, the Moltbook thing is one of these. Could it have been done safer or should it have been done safer? Yes. But it's one of those mistakes that had to be made to learn from it, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
I wish it had been done in a sandbox and so 35,000 email addresses weren't leaked. But
maybe that guy should have done something differently. I don't know who that guy was to put that all in Moltbot, but maybe we should.
Rubric guy, right?
Maybe we should have done that a little bit differently.
But a point you just referenced is something that I came across in my career, probably in 2016, maybe a little earlier than that. I was doing some LMS training, and I was showing folks how to use something in the grade book. And I said, you can use this feature. Da, 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 da. You can use this feature. And it was like exceptions and missing flags and stuff like mark students, missing, exempt, whatever. Missing, exempt, not submitted, or something to that effect. And one of those options marked the student as a 0. So it not only gave them a flag like, hey, you're missing or you're late or whatever, but it gave them a 0 grade, which is, as you might expect with students, pretty important to get them to do something.
They don't really like that. Yeah.
Well, the principal in the back of the room stood up, reached their hand and said, hold on a second. That 0, can we change that value? And I said, no, you can't. It's a default system value. Then he turned to the room and said, you cannot use that feature. And I was like, whoa, like what happened? And what that brought to the front of my attention was I was telling all these folks something they can do. Yeah. That principal was able to interpret and translate and say that's not something they should do. And that gave me the mantra in technical training. This is something you can, but maybe not should do. Can, not should is an important relationship to hold on to when we're talking about technical functionality. And I talk about this all the time when somebody comes to me, hey, can the LMS do this? Hey, can I make a course like this? Hey, can we test the users this way? Hey, can. Well, you can. Should you? That's always my question back as kind of the expert in those spaces and making sure folks have thought through the ethical, functional, practical, etc. considerations before I just flip a switch in the platform. I can flip switches all day. Is it important? Is it safe? Is it helpful? Yeah. The side note on why they could not do that is that school was not allowed to give any grade less than a 50%. So they couldn't give a 0. So no one was allowed to use it. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
That was a whole thing.
That's a whole thing. I have other thoughts about that from an educational standpoint.
We can make that its own episode. 0s or 50s.
So all of this to say, what are our thoughts on using OpenClaw? I still would say go try it out if you want to try it out. I would say maybe don't connect your credit card so you don't end up accidentally spending $150. I mean, there's some
whatever it takes to be safe.
I encourage people to explore these tools because every time I play with one of these tools, whether it's been, this is what I love about the podcast, because it's basically like Will and I's professional development unpaid for the most part.
We pay.
We pay, yes. But we get to talk to a lot of people, and we also get to kind of force ourselves to do things that we probably wouldn't have done just on our own. And whether I've played with Comet, which I now actually use more often, or the AI agent features now in Notion, they've added more features for AI agents. Anytime I use any of these tools, I learned something about how to use AI well and how not to use AI. And so OpenClaw is a very accessible way for you to play with AI agents. So I would encourage you, feel free to, we're not saying don't go use this. What I'm saying is don't put anything in it that isn't secure and free, right? Our institution has like a data rating scale that we use now for things. And we have level 1 is what we call public, like stuff that can be given to anybody. Only put level 1 things in this for now, but like explore it and play with it, because I think Moltbot, while it's an interesting phenomenon, it's hilarious. There's a lot of open source and security problems, I think, related to this. And I think it's mostly hype, what's being thrown out in social media related to this. It is still an AI that does do things. And it's free for you to check out. So like, go check it out, go explore it. We'll link it in the episode page notes. And give you some information on how to get into OpenClaw. But I would encourage you, like, maybe don't connect your APIs, or if you have the ability to do that, if you're listening, maybe don't do that stuff just yet, but like play with it, explore it. I think, what I love about that book and its principles is it's so universal depending on how the AI changes that, like, I love the first one being invite AI to the table, being the principle. Because at the end of the day, I still stand by that statement. These things are difficult. There are issues to work through. There are problems to work through, but we will never figure them out if we don't start exploring AI. And to explore AI, we have to stop posting blog posts on AI, and we actually have to use it. So like, go use it. Go play with the tool. And so go check out OpenClaw, no matter what your perspective is. Will is silently laughing because he knows who I'm talking to. Not
only do I know the real person that I think you're saying that to, but I also, I'm going through the Rolodex in my brain of all the people that's talking to.
Yeah.
I can see the
you can see their
cascading
faces.
effect.
You can see who Josh is preaching to at this moment.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's my last notes.
Co-signed, right? Josh and I do this for so many reasons. To test each other, to process with each other. Like you just said, it's our professional development, but this is one of those ones that when I brought the idea forwards, we've brought different information to this episode, but we both, we agree. This is one of those, it's easy for us to say like, okay, the Moltbot thing, funny, crazy, viral, whatever. The lesson learned is consistent and should be applied. And definitely don't be afraid. Give it a shot. The whole Moltbot thing and Clawdebot and all that, it's because their whole image is a lobster. So this is the intent here is to be funny, to be goofy. Like they're not trying to take themselves seriously, and to go to OpenClaw is still lobster claws. So
yeah,
you know, I think there's a playfulness that's important about this on the side of security. We just need to be aware of it. Don't be silly. Don't be giving it personal information. It's easy to get through this without causing yourself financial trouble or social trouble by doing the wrong thing. So,
yeah, I would agree.
All right. Well, that has been another episode of the podcast. I think we've really covered what it's not like to talk about Moltbot for 45 minutes. This is 235, folks. We'll be back next week for 236. We got a couple of guests in the future. We're going to be at Lancaster Learns this physical week, but you're going to hear that episode in a few weeks. Pretty excited for what that's going to look like. And until then, it's a wrap on another week of the High Tech Podcast. Empowering minds.
Embracing tech.
Cheers.
Cheers.